Hello and welcome to another video. We will be going over some /am I the a-hole posts. The first post is written by zealous_ideal_tax 2097. Am I the a-hole if I divorce my wife after the birth of our child? I, 30M, have been married to my childhood sweetheart Jane, 29F, since 5 years. She is the love of my life and the mother of my child, 1M. Jane and I had a pretty wild, intimate life prior to the birth of our child, and we did it almost every day. Since our son came along, it has more or less reduced to almost once a month. Let me tell you, I did not pressurize her for intimacy for the first 6 months and try to help out as much as I can. Jane has always been gorgeous, but the pregnancy did her wonders, and she has gained weight in all the right places, that I desire her more than ever before, that it is sometimes hard to control and I feel like a hormonal teenager. My wife seems tired all the time. We take turns watching our son through nights and also feeding him. I try to take her out on dates and ask if she is feeling all right, but she always says she is tired. She isn't even into intimacy that much now. It's like she is doing a chore. I go out and see all these attractive women, but they don't even come close to my wife, and I get sexually frustrated again because here I am married to this gorgeous woman and I can't even have intimacy with her. I have only ever been with Jane. She was my first everything, and I, hers. But now I have started to wonder if we rushed into marriage or married too young, and what it would have been like to date other people or never have kids. Don't get me wrong, I love my son, but he has kinda hijacked my wife. I didn't mention any of this to my wife because I don't want to hurt her. But say, hypothetically, if I divorce her now, would I be the a-hole? Our son is a year old, not a month old. Thank you guys for getting my head in the right place again. I knew it was an a-hole move to even ask this question, but I was thinking with my other head because my wife was wearing this gorgeous red dress, and the blood was not going to my head. Well, after the post-nut clarity, this post seems very a-hole-ish. So, yes, I am the a-hole. I'll try to be a better husband and father now. This next post is written by Any Reaction 9882. Let's see what they got to say. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law she should have expected this? I, 31F, am married to Dan, 30M, and we have been together for 8 years. My mother-in-law has always wanted grandchildren and has asked me and Dan since we got married, but has given up on us as we want to stay child-free. We can't afford kids, and Dan isn't interested. Growing up, he basically raised his younger sister Anna, 21F, as my mother-in-law was not a reliable parent figure and struggled to cope with my father-in-law's death for years. Over the years, Dan has mended his relationship with my mother-in-law, and she has a good relationship with Anna. Anna is in college and found out she was pregnant. The dad doesn't want to be involved, and Anna was debating keeping the baby. She came to me, and I told her to consider all her options. She is about to finish her degree, wants to do a master's and PhD, but this will be very difficult with a baby, and she won't get help from the dad. She seemed pretty decided on having an abortion. However, she wanted to stay with my mother-in-law, who convinced Anna to keep the baby. Anna is an adult, so can make her own decisions, but I don't think my mother-in-law was realistic with how it would be to raise a child as a single parent, and my mother-in-law offered to look after the baby while Anna was at school. I spoke to Anna again, but she said she wanted to keep the baby. Anna agreed to my mother-in-law's offer, had my niece, and signed on for a master's at college. Me and Dan helped getting Anna set up with a nursery and supplies, and while my mother-in-law was able to take care of my niece, she underestimated the work to raise a kid, and as Anna is at college until she comes back for the break. My mother-in-law is raising my niece alone. My mother-in-law asked me to help, and I said no. I can't take care of a baby and work, and frankly my niece isn't my responsibility. I can help out occasionally, and I told my mother-in-law that she needs to face the consequences of her actions, or ask Anna. My mother-in-law quoted a child needs a village to raise them, but I didn't budge. Anna called me from college and got upset after she heard what I said to mother-in-law, but I told her the same thing. I might be the a-hole as even Dan thinks I'm being harsh, and we could take our niece in for a weekend or something, but I feel like my mother-in-law/Anna would take advantage of this, and I don't want to be roped in as regular childcare. So I want to keep my stance. This post was written by user mother_negotiation42. I wonder what their story has in store for us. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband over a puzzle? I, 34F, and my husband, 35F, have been married for 6 years now. We met when we were kids and grew up together in a small town. Everybody always knew that we were going to end up together. I have a hobby of doing puzzles, and I would often encourage my husband to join me, expressing that it would make me happy if he took an interest in what I enjoyed doing. However, when I told my husband this, he just laughed and said he has better things to do than care home activities. The comment always rubbed me the wrong way, but I know my husband can be insensitive to these things, so I never commented further on it. My husband and I are very different. While he prefers to go out hiking or to meet up with friends in his spare time, I would rather stay at home and read a book or cook or doing puzzles at home. While I wouldn't call myself introverted, my husband often told me I should make greater effort to socialize more and get out. Recently, this topic has been appearing more and more in our arguments, so last week I asked him so much why it bothered him so much that I don't like to go out as much as him, and he told me it's a waste of a pretty face. I told him I didn't appreciate that comment and that he shouldn't have married me if what I did in spare time was such a problem to him. He scoffed and told me that thought he shouldn't have married me either. He then left the house and came back until night, when I was already in bed. I have a rather extensive collection of puzzles that I collect and then display in my office room. When we got married, I agreed I would leave them in my office when they were finished and that he would never find the pieces lying. He often told me I was filling the house with eyesores and that he wanted to live in a home, not a children's playhouse. That night after he left, I redid one of my favorite puzzles to seek comfort from its familiarity. It was a gift from a friend that has moved away a few years ago. It was a beautiful custom-made puzzle, and it meant the world to me. The picture that puzzle creates is one of me and my friend at our graduation. It's a big puzzle comprising about 200 plus pieces, so I didn't finish it that day, and I went to bed, leaving the pieces scattered over our dining table. When I woke the next morning to finish the puzzle, it was no longer on the table where I had left it. It wasn't in our bedroom, it wasn't in my office, none of my collection was. I finally went to the kitchen to ask my husband if he'd seen my puzzle collection. He looked at me and with a smug little smirk and told me he had to put them all where they belong. I immediately knew that he had thrown them into the trash. It was Friday morning, and that's when the trash was taken away. So I knew I had lost them forever. I didn't waste time shouting at him. I just went in my room and packed my essentials before taking a taxi to my mom's place. He didn't stop me from leaving. He didn't ask where I was going. I told my mom what had happened, and she told me I could stay at her place however long I need until I figured out what my next steps were going to be. I consulted my friends about the matter, and they told me that my husband had been asking everyone where I was and had been telling them to keep their silences about his inquiries. They advised to look into divorce with my husband, and if that wasn't an option I will take, then we should try couples counseling. My husband realized I was serious, and so he started spamming my phone calls and messages, telling me I was being rash and unreasonable, and that no normal human should care that much about a glorified piece of plastic. I had not yet replied to any of his messages. Some of my friends also could not understand why the puzzles hold such value to me. But for me, that has just given me more of an incentive to remove him from my life permanently. 2 days ago, I told him I was going to mourn those puzzles more than I would ever mourn our relationship. Many people are telling me I'm making a mistake in seeking divorce so quickly and that I'll regret my decision. But this whole experience has taught me I hate my husband and that I was right to cheat on him with my friend that moved away. So, am I the asshole? Edit. I cheated at the very beginning of our relationship when I was about 22. We were on break, so I took this to mean we could see other people, but he made sure to bring it up every time we argued. That final state should have been more like, I finally realized I wasn't in the wrong, because even he slept with other women while in this break, and he made that abundantly clear to me. However, you said that it wasn't okay for me to do it because it tarnishes my worth. While that last story was a roller coaster. And finally, the last story for this video, written by user princess_Leela. Just by the title, I can tell it's going to be a doozy. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friends out when I caught her being pleasured by her boyfriend right next to me in my own bed when they thought I was asleep? This all happened 7 months ago when I invited my 2 best friends, who were dating, to stay over at my house to have a sleepover and have a few drinks. The night was going well when we all started to get tired and decided to go to sleep. We're all sleeping in the same bed since it's a double, and I start to hear fidgeting in the bed after about a minute. Then another minute goes by, and I hear kissing, and then still moving. My eyes are wide open since I'm hearing all of this, and I had just put my head down to go sleep. I turn over and get up to see them both up next to me looking at me. I asked my friend if he was fingering her, which he looked confused and said no, and they just said they weren't doing anything, and that's when I pulled the cover off them and saw that her pants were completely off, and she began to giggle like it's a funny thing. Freaking giggle, in my own bed, my own house, when they are right next to me and they think it's okay? I just sat in shock while he reassured his girlfriend, who was still giggling. No, it's fine, she doesn't care, which put me more in shock. I didn't say a word since I didn't know what to say, but I stayed up until 5 a.m. just so they wouldn't do anything. The next morning, I got up and realized what they did, and that's when I went up into my room and had a breakdown. I don't know what came over me then, but I've realized now that it was because of my ex-boyfriend who sexually assaulted me that it made me so upset and traumatized. I couldn't do anything but cry and cry and cry when I called one of my friends and told him, which is when he told me to kick them out, which I agreed with. I went back down into the cabin, and while they were still asleep, started packing up all their stuff and woke them up and told them to get the heck out, which they just looked dumbfounded at me. The pair can't drive Oswell, and they live 30 to 40 minutes away from me on foot. I told them that I wanted them to get out cause of what they did last night because it was wrong, and shoved them out of my house while they had to wait for their parents to pick them up. So am I the a-hole? And on that note, let me know in the comments what are your opinions about these posts. Which one was the biggest a-hole? I look forward to seeing your opinions. Till then, thank you for watching.